I would say without a doubt 100% that all people are underestimated. They have so much more potential than sometimes they even realize, but definitely our community, our society doesn't realize how much potential is in all people. And if we would just wake up to that fact, I really think we'd be more advanced in terms of not only our community, but our whole society. Annmarie Lanesey, founder and CEO of CanCode Communities.
Caro Anders-Maralit. I'm Deputy Director of Operations at CanCode.
The Digital Equity Coalition with the Capital Region was formed in roughly 2021. We as an organization got a grant from a funder that wanted to bring together digital equity coalitions around New York State. So 10 grants were put out, and we were the recipient of one in partnership with some of our other partners, the United Way of the Greater Capital Region, Capital Region BOCES, Workforce Development Institute of New York State, Albany Public Library at the time, and I feel like I'm forgetting someone. City of Albany was a part of it originally. And we have been carrying it forward in partnership with the United Way and the other coalition members, kind of backboning the project for the last several years. CanCode was doing that work after the grant monies were funded. We just knew we wanted to continue doing this regardless of whether or not we had any additional outside funding. And we have received a few other grants to be able to sustain the coalition. It's a grassroots network of other organizations around the region that care about digital inclusion, which is essentially making sure all people in our communities have access to the internet, a computer to make sure they can connect to the internet, and the skills needed to participate in a digital economy.
But then it goes into what we do as workforce development, right? That's ensuring that people have access to even find jobs, how to apply to jobs, how to have the skills to execute on a job. So truly, it's everything we do these days is digital. Like I had a very kind of light bulb moment with my mother-in-law with that actually, who it took her 3 years to come to me. I work in this space to ask for help. And it came with deep-rooted shame around the fact that she has to ask one of her children every single time she needs to do anything on the internet. And again, everything is on the internet. And I was like, wow, if even she has such a barrier to entry to reaching our program and to even coming to me, it is so important that all of us understand that this is way more prevalent in your community around you than you may think. Because a lot of us do, see computers or know people who work on a computer, but there are so many individuals who doesn't have that kind of access. And when you come from a different country, I'm from Germany, we were 10 years behind. So I did grow up without all of these things, without using a laptop in school in my early years. So I think there are a lot of people who live in this country who are from other countries who they weren't equipped with these skills. So we're talking about a really large population that doesn't have them to participate in the day-to-day.
And I would also add our work at CanCode, which applies 100% to our work at CanCode as part of the Digital Equity Coalition, is all about upward economic mobility. So making sure people can gain more income so they can have a higher quality and standard of living for themselves and their families. And there's a study that we love to talk about from the National Skills Coalition and the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, which says that 92% of all jobs today require digital skills. So actually that study was a few years ago. So probably more than 92% of all jobs require digital skills. If people in our communities don't have the skills to participate in work, and that truly is the future and where we're going, especially with the advent of the AI economy. People don't have the digital skills and the AI skills to participate in the future of work. They truly will be left behind. And I think the disparities, people have heard the term, not everybody has heard the term, the digital divide. Well, the digital divide is the space between people that have digital technology and can participate in a digital economy and those that can't. And that divide has widened. We saw it in COVID, but the AI divide is starting, where we're seeing that if people have AI skills and they are more likely to be hired for certain kinds of jobs. So we now have the digital divide and the AI divide, just making sure people are prepared to be able to work and have the skills that they need in order to do so.
It's a really big issue that has many different consequences.
One of the things I think that's critical about CanCode's participation in the Digital Equity Coalition So we founded the organization in 2016. So we are in our 10th year this year. And we have, at the end of 2024, served 5,000 people since our inception. So we started as Albany Can Code with a mission to create a more tech literate ecosystem in Albany, and then grew all across the state very quickly. Have many trainees in New York City, all around the state. The work that we started when we started in 2016 was to help adults get jobs in the tech industry. I came from a background of software development, essentially. And I hired an individual who never went to college, came to work for me. He sped right past some of our other employees that were from top tier computer science programs. So at that moment, I realized there are people all across our communities that could do this high paying tech sector work, but they don't know it. And so set out to create a small pilot program. And so we did that. And out the gate, had 75 people apply to be a part of the program. We don't even know how they came, how they found us, but somehow there we were. We had 12 that went through it, 9 completed. And then that was the start of Albany Can Code at the time. And we had right away started hearing of people going into tech sector work. Very different from today. This is like 2015, 2016. Remote work wasn't yet as socially acceptable as it is now, but we doubled every 6 months in the beginning. So 10 people went to 20 and 20 went to 40 and 40 went to 80. And now we're averaging about somewhere around 800 people a year going through our training. The reason I wanted to give the background on Can Code, because it wasn't until around 2018 or 2019 that we had a trainee that came through our program. He stopped coming, and we we're very closely in touch with our trainees. And we said to him, "Why are you not coming to class? You're so amazing. Like, you have everything it takes to be a high-paying tech sector worker." This was a person who was 8 years unemployed, a military veteran, and a person of color. And they said, "Well, my laptop broke, so I just can't complete the training." And we said, "Oh, no. Like, we are going to get you a laptop and you're going to complete. Because if that's the barrier from completion, we're going to get that for you." And he inspired our first ever laptop lending opportunity. And that turned into a lending library, which turned into we just provide laptops for people to keep, because we want people to keep going after. We don't want them to have to give it back to us. We want them to learn it and be able to be a productive member of a digital economy and society. He went on to complete the training. He got his first job from a well-known international consulting company. And I ran into him a few years after that, and he gave me a hug and he said, "Annmarie, I'm making over $100,000. And this person, again, was 8 years unemployed, military veteran. And we just were like, heard story after story like that. And so we have hundreds, probably more stories like that people have gone through our training and gone into tech sector employment. But the beginner skills is something we had to learn, that people aren't going to get to the more advanced stuff if we don't teach them beginner. So we started teaching beginner skills. And now beginner, we call it from beginner to beyond. So that's kind of the inception of our work. And so the Digital Equity Coalition, of course, is right up the alley of the kind of work that we do. So we want to create a more tech literate ecosystem in Albany. That's how we were founded. So being a founding member of the Capital Region Digital Equity Coalition is like obviously what we're here for. This is what our work is all about. So our classes are 100% free for people that are income eligible for them, and 95% of our trainees pay nothing. So that 5% of people that want to take our classes because they can't find training like it elsewhere, that's kind of historically been the match. But we just actually recently are starting a new program. It's launching in January, AI for Professionals. So people that want to reskill and gain a better understanding of like how AI and the models actually work, and if they want to start creating agents for themselves or for their workplace. So some of the more technical skills beyond just how do you use like a ChatGPT or one of the other tools, but how to really understand how these technologies work and the impact that they can bring that to their workplace. I mean, we're at the point where we've been collecting data on our trainees since 2019. And we have been able to see that our training on average creates about $25,000 in a new person's income. Even our beginner computer training, so teaching someone basic skills, it's looking like on average about $8,000 to $10,000. So we have large economic mobility that we have helped people create for themselves. And I mean, it was meant to be, there's got to be more people that can do this, because many people don't necessarily have to go to college to become a software engineer. But now with the AI evolution, it's a little bit of a different time. So we're leaning heavy into the AI rescaling and upskilling because the future of work is, to be determined, because many AI agents and bots and all kinds of AIs are starting to do work that, used to be done by human beings. So we're helping adults get reskilled for that future of what the workforce looks like. But this is what we're all about, making sure people are not left behind.
And I think one of the things that's really important too, and also speaks to the coalition, is the confidence someone gains going through the program has blown us away. That means to me more than any of these jobs, obviously, that are life-changing and so important, but that confidence really sets you apart. Because you might lose a job in the future, or you might not have a certain skill, but what you learn is that you can overcome anything with just the right person believing in you. And so I think that has really come to fruition over these past years. And I joined CanCode much later. Obviously, Annmarie is our founder, joined in 2022. And it's really been so incredible, especially during this really tough time for organizations like ours, because, funding is scarce right now. But being able to work a job that really has impact day to day has really been incredible.
We actually believe that anybody can become a software engineer with the right training. That is not a belief that everybody's holds. And so we often, if we're out speaking about, this kind of work, like the more advanced tech sector work, people will say, well, how do you find that one needle in a haystack person that can do this job? And we're like, whoa, no, that's the wrong conversation. It's the haystack. The entire haystack. We absolutely 100% believe in people. There is no shame around anybody's potential. We believe most people are underestimated. People often talk about, marginalized communities, disadvantaged communities. Those are terms that we use to describe realistically low-income people often. We believe these are underestimated people that have huge potential. So because we look at all people with the holy smokes, you have so much potential, you may not even believe it yet. And so our work is about untapped potential in somebody. And I think because we believe that, it just comes across, I think, in who we are as an organization. We have one program that is one of my favorite programs right now, which is a program any immigrant or refugee in the state of New York can take our training for free. We have a partnership with the New York State Office for New Americans. We offer it in English and in Spanish. We provide laptops and hotspots to people's homes if they need them. I think that's a really big motivator, or I would say confidence builder for somebody that is still learning English, perhaps here in a new place at a new time. For the first time, and they are getting supported to learn both the culture and the digital culture. We believe we're one of the only in the country that's doing this work in this way. The need is just so immense for so many people. The other thing we'll say is we love our library partners, Albany Public Library, the Upper Hudson Library System. But when I access the internet, I do it from my home. And that is one thing we really strive for, making sure people have access to these tools, laptops, and the internet in their homes. Many of the nonprofit organizations across our communities are supported by government funding, but there really isn't that kind of funding for this work yet. And the reason is because if you're hungry, you're hungry. The basic needs, you need them. But if you don't have an internet connection, you can't really hunger for it because you don't really know what the digital world is all about. And so there isn't really, or has never really been, an upswell of people demanding access to the internet and the digital economy because people just don't know what they don't know. It's like a whole nother world that exists that they have no idea is even out there for them. And so there really hasn't been a ton of movement around advocacy. And we're trying to do that. And that's a part of the work of the coalition, is to really build an understanding that this is absolutely critical and be the voice for people that may not even know that these opportunities exist for them.
They have overcome so many barriers in their lives, and that shines through when they go through the training. They're stronger than you think.